No.
Are we live?
All right.
Oh, wait, I'm just seeing if it's coming up. It's not coming up on the page yet.
Welcome to the awkward start. RobinsonFest 2025.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Oh, it's coming up. It's coming up. Yep, we're on.
We're on?
Yep, hang on. I got to share it.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the notification. I follow you, Jeremy.
All right. We should be over in Tribe now.
Yep.
All right. This is question and answer session for RobinsonFest 2025.
Who's brave enough to be first?
I'll be brave enough to go first. That's not brave enough. You posted last month or about 6 weeks ago about exploring neurodivergency.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering, kind of as a recap of that, any thoughts on how that has affected you as an author and how you see the world and the bennies and maybe the not so bennies?
Well, the benefit of knowing that I'm autistic is that I can now adjust schedules and how and when I do things so that I do it in a way that doesn't exhaust me. What were we talking about?
Next question about attention.
I also have ADHD. Yeah, so just knowing allows me to make adjustments that make life easier and give me more energy, things like that. So that I do it in a way that doesn't.
Introduce everybody. How about we get everybody introduced?
Sure. Steve.
No, to the people that don't know. I'll do it.
I'm Jeremy Robinson, and you already know that. So.
I came Gilmore.
Steve Mankey, I write under the pen name Xander Weaver. Dan Delgado, I bring some of their books to audio.
I'm Kenny Shiva, and I bring diversity. No. I'm out of the DEI. We all sat in like brown order.
Sorry guys, you're missing some of these.
Write a book.
No, I wrote a book, and Jeremy gave me a lot of advice along the way, and I love him for it. So I'm here.
It's a good group because we all happen to read books.
What's Mr. DEI first? He loves Jeremy.
Friend.
I just thought you all had beards.
Yeah. Okay, so questions.
Next.
Charlie.
How is it working with Jeremy? Because you've been working with him since like 1902.
Yes.
So.
How is it working with him? It's
Yeah.
actually, it's really fantastic. I was just telling my wife the other day that I feel like this is the best job that I've ever had because I do something that I feel matters, helping him help his career and helping me help my career through that as well. It's just the two of us, and I give him feedback on things, and he actually considers my feedback and respects those opinions. Often will do the thing that I suggest. Whereas I've worked in lots of organizations and things before that where you give feedback to people above you in the chain of command and they just ignore it. So it feels nice to be appreciated, and yeah, it's the best job ever. I really enjoy it.
Now, how do you really feel?
I really enjoy it. Yes.
I struggle.
That's what I was told to say.
Struggle.
So I had a question. You mentioned last night or yesterday afternoon that you don't ever reread your book. You don't ever read your book. Once you write it, it's done.
Yep.
How do you keep track of the characters when you're blending through from one book to the next to the next? Do you have like a file on your wall that says, this is, Laser Chicken, and he did this and said that, and wants this?
It's all in my head. I sometimes when I'm writing a book, I will write down a few details I don't want to forget, but I don't have everyone written down. I'm so visual that it's hard. I see it like a movie. So when I'm writing chapter after chapter, I'm seeing those characters again and again and again. And so it's easy not easy, but it's just natural for me to remember it instead of write it down.
I've had this answer from a couple of you good folk, but what is your favorite Jeremy Robinson title and why?
Jeremy, you first.
Yeah, you start.
I'm going to say The Last Hunter because it's the main character is based on my son Solomon, who is the main character of the book. And when I wrote it, he was just 2 years old. And now he is 19 and very similar to the Solomon in the book, including the beard, the long hair, the way he thinks, his moral character. It's identical to Solomon in the book. So it was kind of predictive of who he would become. So I really like it because of that.
I'm going to say the Didymus contingency because when I first read it, I was a lapsed, non-practicing Christian, and I enjoyed the heck out of it because I felt that this was the first sort of Christian thriller that I'd ever seen that wasn't in no way really preachy. It was just really engaging and just a fantastic story, and I really loved it.
First book I read was Kronos. I really liked the priest character that was kind of scamming on the billionaire to kind of tell him everything he wanted to hear and then do whatever the hell he wanted. And then I went directly to Pulse because I think you had an excerpt from Pulse in the other book. So I jumped from one right into the next one and pretty much been reading them as fast as I can write them ever since.
My first book as well. I moved right on to Antarctos Rising, which then led into what really is my favorite series as well, is the Antarctos Saga. Not because my son is in it, it's yours, but rather Solomon's childhood in the story was our childhood. We had very similar childhoods.
Correct.
So as you're talking about like the volcanoes and watching, the monster matinee kind of things, that just all clicked for me. So I absolutely gravitated to that one.
Solomon's morning routine when he was a child in the first book is my morning routine as a child, and I featured it in my house, and like every step of his morning was mine every Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah, so
Pebbles.
late. The same thing was great.
I'm gonna have to just say I'm Didymus, pretty much because the way that the character develops, or the characters develop from not just the aspect of meeting such a Christ-like figure, but actual Christ, almost puts us in a place where it's an internal. It was a very internally gripping book for me, and helped me along my Christian journey as well.
And I absolutely love that book too. And I was very hesitant to read it because it was going to be about Jesus, and I'm, very so with my religion. I'm not a practicing Christian, so I was hesitant to read it. But that was one of the best books that I read. So
when I read that book, I was wondering if this was going to be your thing, right? Are you going to be is there going to be some biblical reference, especially with Kronos being somewhat, right? So I don't enjoy people that get up on a soapbox about religion. So I really enjoyed the narrative. I really enjoyed the story, but I wasn't put off by the fact that it was based around religion. And it was. I would have been interested to keep reading if he'd gone and done similar things across different tropes going forward. But the fact that he took a off ramp and just started going wild after that was fantastic.
So you haven't read it.
Who are you pointing to?
Everyone at home.
Yes.
Okay. That was like your.
Other questions? We have some big questions.
Yeah, I've got a question. When I love the inner character dialogue, and a couple of times as I'm reading, I'm visualizing you sitting there in one character, and then how would this character respond? And then I visualize you channeling that character and respond. Is that close to what you guys do?
It's kind of like, I don't think about this much, but now that I like think about it, it's kind of weird. It's like a conversation is happening and I'm transcribing.
Yeah.
So there is no
So you're
pause
hearing it
and
in your
switch between voices like, okay, how is the person talking? It just kind of comes out.
I picture him as sock puppets doing it.
You got 2 questions? There you go.
Go for it.
Charlie talks all the time.
So Dark Horse was running through your head as you were talking.
Cool. You can play Dark Horse.
That's one of my, I don't know, I've read tons of your books so far. Like, I go back and I've listened to multiple of them. Thanks to my brother. My brother's one who turned me on to your work in general. And I was like, oh, wow, tons of things on here. And then, to be honest, when I thought about meeting you, I was like, he's not going to sound like R.C. Brace. I need to get that out of my head. Sounds like, oh, this is what it sounds like. You know, like, no, it's not going to sound like R.C. Brace. But no, I really appreciate all the work that you've done. So I guess it's a question per se, but yeah, I love your books. I love the way they flow and they have this factual, characters too, where you pull factual things in and intermix it with mythology as well. So you're getting a little bit of both.
The laser chicken was real, right?
Yeah. I went to a Starbucks after writing that book, and he was there. He was wearing the plaid shirt, had the long hair. Everything about him was. I almost asked him because the infinite timeline is our timeline, and I was like, oh crap.
No. We know that you manifest crap all the time. You write about it, it's going to show up in it. I'm waiting for the dog to start talking. Boston, so stuff them out of face. It is good voice.
Charlie?
Out of all the people that you've killed, which death scene did you enjoy the most?
Oh.
Smoke coming out of his
In
ear.
a book, for people who, these are just all fictional characters. As much as there's certain people we wanted to die, and they're up.
I mean, that I can remember off the top of my head. Kane's was pretty cool.
You know what mine is, yeah.
Kane's is hard to forget, and I'm not going to repeat it on camera.
I am.
Go for it.
Mine is from Call Sign Deep Blue, where there are some soldiers that are crawling in a ventilation shaft. It's greased up.
Oh.
They slide down through a razor grill and get turned into cubes.
Oh yeah.
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 Has anybody read Torment? I mean,
I forgot about Torment.
yeah.
But Charlie wanted to know the people that I know that I killed, or just death in general.
Just any character.
Two questions.
Mine are both Kane.
Okay.
What was your death in? It was 731.
Yes,
731.
But you also got Kafer and.
Yes, that
all
was
of us in
fun.
the same
I
scene.
killed all of the co-authors for the Chesspocalypse, all in one scene. But Kane's death was the grossest.
That's what it was.
So extend
Did I
that
get
question
stabbed in
to
the heart?
everyone.
You got
The BFSs.
stabbed by BFS from behind, and its appendage came through your chest. And normally, when a BFS stings you, it injects like salmon into your body. But Kane was impaled all the way through, so it went through and then.
Squirted it out. Nice.
The rest of the authors, what was your favorite character of the Jeremy? Who did you enjoy seeing killed in the Jeremy Robinson novel?
Man, that's tough.
Except for another one.
Oh. Yeah. Maybe some of the NPCs that got killed in the dark and the meat masher scenes towards the end.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty gruesome.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty gruesome.
I still have nightmares.
Yeah. Excellent. Job well done.
I couldn't pick one.
You could, there's so many.
There have been some epic
Top
deaths.
three then? Top three.
Between the Sentinel, the mashup, and that, and in the others, you've done it twice. Where you've had mashups of bodies creating something.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Those are pretty
I
epic.
like to do that.
If you would set speed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
How about the fat woman on the cruise ship?
Yeah, that's one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Yeah, phlegm blobs. I can't unsee that, by the way.
Yeah, that was the electric wheelchair.
I was cackling when I wrote that.
With a sock puppet.
My favorite death is actually probably a little bit more, I guess, cultural. It's I won't say cultural. It's in the PC when the man brings his wife back to life for a very short moment, and then there's this visit that he has after she basically melts back down. And for me, that moment was, you can feel like that you're making everything happen, but it's really, there are other parts in your life that have to be contributing to this. You cannot just say, I'm going to do this alone. Jeremy apparently doesn't always write his books alone. We can't always just be alone in life and think that we're going to make it work. And sometimes things will fall apart in front of you. And when they do, the only thing that's left is the realization that you probably needed help along the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
That wasn't gross. So fun.
This isn't really a question, but how many references do you think to coaxial cable have you made? I was listening to one of your books, Jared. I don't even remember which one. It was like 2 books ago. But there was a scene where there's like this, galactic fight or something, and you said you referenced a coaxial, and it was some kind of like gun or something, and I'm like laughing. I'm like, it's just,
I have no
just
idea.
like came boom, It was funny.
Not
It
as
was
many
me.
times as he's mentioned the word staccato. I was writing mine, and I was like, staccato, dang it.
So that's kind of the question. I mean, when shit just comes in your head,
I have a limited vocabulary.
right?
Well, that actually kind
That's
of
what makes it funny, though, because when you hear that kind of shit,
into a question I had, like some of the short little one-liners that you have, one of them I remember, surprised as a sleeping rhino was when he got a suppository. And I thought, and I talked with Brian about it, and I said, I wonder if there's like, you get together and you with friends and you say, oh, let's come up with a ton of little one-liners, or are those just popping in your head as you're writing, or do you see it during the day and then write it down?
Sometimes they pop into my head, but most of the time I pause and think, like, what? Like, what? And I let the visuals play through my head and then just make them more and more extreme until I'm giggling.
Right.
And then that goes in.
Now ask him what's on the cutting room floor. In those
Well, and I can only imagine, and because, and every time we hear one, we'll call each other and say, oh my God, this was a great one. And we got to remember it. And then the next day, it's gone. But the one with the rhino sticks in my head.
People sometimes post stuff like that on Facebook without any context. And I'll laugh and I'm like, who wrote this?
Jeremy, what's some of them Stanisms though?
Oh, yeah.
Going.
So the Stanism started when I was writing Pulse, and Stan was working with me at the time. So he was actually in the room as I wrote. And I would turn to him and say, if you were in this situation, what would you say right now? And he would blurt something out and that would go in the book.
Stephanie?
Yeah, question that I have back to the deaths, by all means. One, I deciphered in The Good Boys, and you killed them off nicely. In general, if you're ever like really mad at somebody or something like that, you purposefully write their deaths so that it gets out of your system.
I did that once, and that was an instinct, and I don't remember the name. I didn't use last name; it was just the first name.
Right, but I mean, in your mind, you know exactly who you mean, and I'm like, this person, I hate him so bad. Here he goes.
Only once.
But twice technically in Good Boys with the name that.
So, I'm talking about someone I know personally.
Well, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Good Boys.
But you mean like a character I hated?
No, truly like a person, personally, yes, but also in the Good Boys, you know, the bad guy, his name deciphers into somebody else.
Got it. I know where you're going now. So when I wrote the Good Boys books and decided to do that, he was not a controversial figure. He is now. So it hits a lot harder now than it did then. Then it was just kind of silly, and then everything happened. I thought, oh crap. It was not meant to be political at all.
He who shall remain nameless.
Voldemort.
Yes.
I have a question from Cynthia, who won't come into the room because she's afraid she's too loud. I know, that's what I said. All right, so Jeremy, I have a question for Jeremy about having cured Henry by the end of the infinite timeline. Now that he has found himself diagnosed with autism, has he any thoughts on curing his main character in Artifact in future books, or do you think this character will continue to be strong as he is?
So curing his autism.
Well, he was cured Henry by the end of the infinite timeline.
No. Was Henry cured of that?
Managed differently.
I'm getting confused.
Well,
Are we talking about?
If she would come into the room, she could tell us
I
herself.
wasn't sure.
Come on in, Cackle.
Is she outside?
Was Henry? Because you mentioned autism, so I thought Artifact.
Yes, and yeah. So, having cured Henry by the end of Infinite Timeline, now that you've found yourself diagnosed with autism, have you any thoughts on curing your main character in Artifact in future books? Yeah. No.
Well, first, there is no cure for autism, no matter what anyone tells you. So yeah, that one's kind of impossible to cure. But I also feel like, and I feel like this for myself too, that the cool side effects of having autism are kind of worth the sucky parts of having autism. So I think that a world without autism, as some people in government are trying to do, would be probably horrible, because a lot of the people in history who've made like severe advancements have probably been autistic, just because they think so differently and can try things in new ways.
What would a world be like without Michelangelo or Van Gogh, or
I thought we were talking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for a second.
Actually, you say that, but all of the representative artists definitely sit with all of those very similar characteristics. Our newer versions that we have had and experienced has told us, hey, we're probably not the center of the universe. But it took somebody thinking differently. It took somebody thinking out of the box. It actually took people actually standing up and saying, you know what, I don't have a choice in how I think, but this is just who I am. And even though some of those people were killed because of that, they couldn't change it. And we would never.
And probably wouldn't want to change it.
Exactly.
Could we please avoid explicit is not the way, explicit spoilers in the question? Some of us not read every single book, so I would be grateful.
I have a lighter question. Music is a big theme in a lot of your books. And there was one specific character who answered this question perfectly, but to the entire panel, best front man or woman ever of a band.
Oh, well, Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brian Johnson.
Come back in.
Yes.
Nice.
Damn.
Off the top of my head, I was going to say James Hetfield.
Who was that?
Metallica!
Who's that?
So one of the things, like, when you're walking through a random space like the Manchester airport, and you see a stuffed moose. Do you make notes? Do you have like the moment where you're like, ha, and then you write quick notes so you remember stuff later, or do you just pull that out of your brain when you need it?
It's just there. I don't make notes about that stuff. I can't even begin to imagine how I got to that point in that book. Like,
You know what? This would be a fine portal.
right.
Thankfully, it was that specific piece of the moose, and
Right. It's like the story kind of just took me to the Manchester airport naturally. So I started mentally walking through the airport, thinking of what's interesting in this airport, and it's really just the moose.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so then I focused in on the moose, and then I thought I need to make people laugh, so we're gonna head to the foot. And then like with the horse, like that's just you can't not notice that it has giant nuts. How in a book like Good Boys, I can't not address that.
Oh, yeah. Let me get Chihuahuas raping Labradors or whatever.
We got Brandon.
So I'm wondering, when I write, sometimes I like, you get in the zone and you almost like tune out for a while. Do you guys do that with your writing?
All the time.
You do it all the time.
Yesterday, when we got on the flight, we were up in the air and we were landing. And during that entire time, I lost it all. I was in a book. I just was writing. And my wife was like, we're about to land. Or we hit something. I was like, oh, okay.
And that was a UFO abduction.
And yeah, it's just time and writing are not overlapping at all. It's like one just goes and the other one's here.
It's also the dream job that I think a lot of people have, where you look like, oh my God, it's dinner time already. And I get here so fast.
Yeah.
I've written about 50 novels in my head when I've had to drive places.
Yeah.
I just haven't transcribed them down yet, but I have all these stories up here that happen
Absolutely.
all the time.
Which can be dangerous to do while you're driving. If
Yeah.
you're
You start having kind of a dream almost.
yeah.
How much work have you got done while King's driving?
I've actually
He's
written many chapters.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes. On our way to
He's written
Florida.
chapters on his laptop.
After a day in the car.
Yeah.
I wrote 2 chapters on the plane on the way to LA.
The traveling through the South change your perspective of any character.
I'm jumping the line, Charlie.
I'm sorry.
Speaking of dream job, what advice would you give to young people, or any people, I suppose, but my jam is young people because I'm a teacher. What advice would you give to them, if, all of you, except sorry again, getting started in the writing, if they're interested in, pursuing a career in writing?
Marry someone wealthy.
Okay.
Or at least willing to work while you don't.
Yeah,
For real, like,
that really helps.
I didn't really make much money for the first 10 years of my marriage. So like 20 to 30, I was writing full time, nonstop. I didn't party. I didn't spend money. I was just writing every day. I started out horrible, like world's worst writer. And so I had a lot of ground to make up. And so I just had to dedicate myself to not having life into writing and to not making money. In part because I really wanted to be a writer, but also because I was autistic and didn't know it. And I tried to get jobs, but couldn't handle it for more than like a day. So I had that like desperation pushing me and pushing. And my wife was willing to put up with it for that long. And now it's worked out. So the reverse has been true for the last 20 years. She hasn't had to work and just be with the kids.
I have a serious answer for you also, which is, I actually just gave it to Brandon earlier, because he tried a book, which is, you can't edit nothing. So if you haven't typed any pages, you can't fix them and improve them and make them any better. So if you're trying to write a book and it's still in your head, no one can do anything to that book to improve it until you get it out of you and onto the page or onto the digital screen. So it doesn't matter if what you write is poor, you just have to write. You have to regurgitate it and get it all out of you. Once it's out, then there are professional editors who can improve it and make it better. And you yourself can go through it multiple times if you need to and tweak things and change things and improve things. But if you don't have something to work with, you can't manipulate it in any way. So first you have to get it out of you.
If you're embarrassed by your first draft, you're never going to make it to a second draft. But if you can knock out that first draft, you can get it on paper. It doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be what you want it to be. But you have other people you can bounce it off of, you can spend more time thinking about it. And the challenge for me has always been the first version of anything I write, whether it's a policy paper, a novel, you know, a blog post or something. But if I let myself get stuck on the first draft, I will never make it to the second draft because your brain just locks up and you get stuck there. I think a lot of people get stuck there.
And I think that being discouraged early on, Jeremy's diversity in his characters helped me a lot. So like to read about Dark Force or to read about the different characters. I remember Jeremy writing something or commenting that some of the worst reviews that he gets is because of representation in his writing. Mm-hmm. How fucked up is that? Right. So
I did it more afterwards.
Yeah. And so, you know, seeing and hearing people like me in his books was an invitation to do more, to show more, to take a character and say, hey, the main character can be green. Mm-hmm. The main character can be black. The main character has to be a character. You have to like take someone, for instance, like he's one of my heroes in life, both physically and emotionally. Look at this.
I know.
It's Dark Horse.
Yeah, right.
Just to say he's pointing at his very handsome brother.
And you know, to be able to say like, all right, so the characters in Jeremy's books can have not just autism, but someone with an extra chromosome, and they can still be so well represented. What else can we write about that we have in our lives?
So when that was like, oh, I have ADHD too, perfect.
Yes.
Writing about people like.
So you know, there is a spark and a passion in every book and every chapter, and if you're writing and you don't feel like that there's a chapter or a spark or a purpose, hit the delete and then keep on and try again, because there's something, no matter if you're white or no matter what you look like, there is a motivation, and if you have it, you'll make it. You'll send it off to a publisher and they're like, holy shit, this is pretty good. Can we sign a contract with you? And you're like, what? I was literally like falling over myself. I was like, I got picked up by a publisher. And I told somebody that, they were like, yeah, how many books have you written? None yet.
We were just talking about it.
We were running in a tough, no, not tough, tough Mudder.
Spartan,
we were
Spartan race.
Yes,
and I wrote into that.
And yeah, it was really
it was fun.
And so, but there was a spark, there was a purpose, and there is a place that we could write into. So find your spark, find your purpose, and write.
Read the fine print on that contract. Read the fine print on that contract.
I will.
Where I'm kind of a newbie in all this stuff and just started reading the characters and stuff like that, but I can tell you that one thing I didn't hear is like, what keeps me going is like the humor. Like there's like these little spots of humor all through your books that I've read so far that like, I just like listening to them in my car and I'm sitting there laughing to myself because I'm like, what the hell? This is so bizarre, you know, and everything like that. And it's like, you just get that feeling, like a good feeling, like when you're reading it as it's going through it at these spots where you're like bringing in a little bit of humor, a little bit of humor, a little bit of humor and stuff like that. So I just find that just a great part of the writing and everything like that, and how you include people's names. And like, I'm looking around and like, you killed me in this book, you saved me in this book and everything like that. You know, that's just great. That's just great. I just have one request to like, you're maybe in a future book to bring back bacon as like a character.
Just trot through.
Yeah, just have her trot through. Just have her trot through it. And, you know, reference it. And everybody yelling at it. Because everybody loves bacon.
shirt glove.
Wouldn't Bacon need to like trot through with like a bunch of puppies?
That's hilarious.
Julie.
Oh, Julie.
So on the heels of that, I'm gonna ask you one more time. Still no rumblings to write a fourth Good Boys?
I really liked how it ended.
I know you do, but we really love those characters.
Well, how about a prequel with the Lost Tribe setup, dude, before?
Yeah, I sometimes struggle with series books, and Good Boys was never meant to be a series. It was supposed to be a standalone. But I liked the characters so much that I continued it through 3 books. The longer, like more than 3, is kind of like I will start to struggle with writing it, and I don't want that to happen.
How do you know you'll start to struggle? You haven't written more than 3 books on.
Yes, I have.
Oh, well.
The only one.
Chess team.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The answer is no.
For everyone, in all the books you've participated in, written, narrated, what do you think about when you look at the genre classifications that pop up on Audible and Amazon book dealers? Have there been any that you found ridiculous? Do you have any input to improve them?
That's a good
We
question.
do have input to improve them. When you're self-publishing or when you have a small publisher, you upload your books to Amazon, you can select a couple different categories. You get 3 categories you can select, but you also have keywords that you can put. And so you could put the names of different subgenres into keywords, and that will make your book pop in those subgenres when people drill down to like not just science fiction, but genetic engineering books. You know, so genetic engineering pops up on almost all of his books. Because
Even when there's nothing genetic.
keywords, so it always shows up. So you do have a little control over that, but I don't really think anything about them when I see them. Do you?
I remember seeing some that were like silly, that made no sense, but I don't remember what those were. It's been a while.
Classic con.
Well, that one, yes, we discovered last night at supper that the Didymus contingency on Audible is listed as Christian fiction classic.
That's not something that we put in keywords. That's something that Amazon just decided.
Angry letters come in.
The other folks.
It's funny for me to see other authors that Amazon thinks I'm similar to. Like some of them make sense because I was inspired by some of those authors, and every once in a while I'll see an author that I've like never heard of or I found to be very different. And when I recognize the ones that I think are complementary, that means something to me. But it also means something to me when it's something that surprises me, and I wonder what made that match. And it's caused me to go back and look at some of those other authors and some of their works, just because it's not a foolish algorithm, right? I see enough value in it that it makes me look at some of the other things that it's pulling up in comparison, because I figure a lot of readers are going to do that thing too. It's good.
I don't like to be told.
I have zero control over anything else. So, I just, I don't, well, under my pseudonym, which shall be named, but when I've done some of the romance novels, I just want to make sure they don't pop up as erotica. Because a lot of times they have sexual scenes, I don't want them to come up that way.
It's okay, Peter.
Keseva's title last night and initially came up with a romance book by a female author with nothing at all in common with the excellent read I just started that he wrote. It was crazy. So I'm wondering if there's any way you can.
So right now, if you go on to, I was doing this just to make sure. So if you like my book, then you'll love this guy named Stefan Kong.
Oh, hang on. Love it. We'll help you. Stephen King.
Wow.
So I'm not terrible. I'm just blind. So I did struggle with that at the beginning because the way that I found Jeremy was I was reading it was a movie, or not movie, it sounds like a movie, but it was Dennis E. Taylor, and it was like, if you like Dennis E. Taylor, then you're probably like this guy. And I was thinking, I'm over here talking about, replicating robots across the universe. And then, actually, here's the greatest story I'm going to tell this. If your wife tells you to paint the house a particular color, don't paint the whole thing until she sees the sample of that color. But since I had to repaint the living room several times, I just started listening to audiobooks. And so after I finished this Bobiverse, first book of the Bobiverse, I was like, I need something else because I still got another 8 hours worth of, and then that's when the Dividends contingency popped up.
Daniel? So I got a question about analytics, because coming from video games, we really use analytics to target and make sure we're hitting the right people, we're drawing the right people in with ads. How much analytics do you guys get back from your books? Who's reading it? How much time they're spending, things like that? And do you guys do anything with that to try and optimize what your future stuff is?
I used to, and then got tired. That's a very different kind of thinking.
Yeah.
And so as I started writing more and had more projects that were beyond the novels, the comic books and screenplays and all that kind of stuff, I kind of didn't leave mental energy to figure out the analytics. There are some websites that I use that bring it all together, but it's not all of it. So it's almost useless without everything.
Yeah.
So the podium books, I don't have a flow of analytics that I can use for that. So it's a lot more work to figure it out now.
We probably use a social version of that, right? When you hear readers respond to something or they found something inspiring in a book, right? Does that cause you to think about your next book in a different way?
If a lot of people said the same thing. But
it's like a human analytic.
Yeah.
Right? It's something more interesting to you than the numbers on the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I do pay attention to trends in reviews. If people are saying the same thing, if people say they don't like the same thing, then that definitely changes things. But yeah, I would love to have all the data. That would be very helpful, but it's beyond me right now.
Yeah, it's I can imagine especially with the broad variety of people you get coming in.
Yeah,
kind of parse it out into a way that is actionable would be pretty challenging.
It's like data from 50 sources.
Yeah.
Stephanie? Really quick, I just wanted to say, Bubbles, the AI, considering having Tourette's the way she does, so a couple of things on that. Number one, English is not my first language, although I've been here forever. So I've learned a few new words, so thank you for that. But, the way that, now, my car, I've always called Bubbles, and I've always said she's acting like she's got a personality. You have literally given life to sometimes what my car did at the time. If she didn't want to go, she didn't go. If someone was driving her that drove her too rough, good luck getting her up to 60. Things like that, and it was just hearing about the AI and what my real Bubbles was doing at the time was just awesome. And I could imagine her literally be in the little watch, with the Tourette's, being mad about somebody driving her that wasn't me. So just wanted to throw that out.
What was your inspiration for Bubbles?
No idea. And sometimes I just keep writing and then it's there. And I'm like, okay, this is Bubbles. Yeah, I don't.
I remember you asked me
You
what
had
to name the
asked, yeah.
stripper.
I did. The name was gotten from Facebook. I think it was Tribe. One.
I want to, you had asked on the group if anybody has a car that has a name.
Okay.
And so I think I answered to that going, I have a Bubbles, and she's got personality.
Okay, so maybe you name
So that's what I was wondering, because it came out shortly after.
I don't remember, because sometimes when I do that, I'm actually writing the chapter, and then whoever answers first. Yeah.
So I'm showing my true colors as a writer here. If you had to have any sort of fan fiction written about any of your stories, what would it be, and what would the sort of plot be? Because you can do whatever you want with it. Would you add a sequel to something like Refuge, or would you want to see a fan, special interaction between characters?
It would kind of be fun to see someone write a story in a different genre. As a fan of anime, both of us, it would be fun to see someone take one of my books and continue in like an anime style. That would be fun. I don't know which book.
Bad Boys is a mystery.
Yeah, at the beginning of it, we didn't know who was, you know, all the astronauts are talking and we all think they're human and it's a surprise.
Right.
So.
Charlotte.
Did that regretfully. So I know you self-publish now, but when you, that is a question for everyone, but if you had or have a publisher, was there ever a thing, something that you wrote that the publisher's like, no, we can't do that, or they tried to?
Once, it was Instinct, and Instinct was originally the first chess team novel. And in it, I wanted to be really serious and not like fluffy, so I killed Knight and Bishop in that book brutally. And so I had
Is there
to,
any other way for you?
I had to rewrite it so that they survived those events. Those events still happen. Like Bishop has his arms torn off. In the first version, he died. And in the second one, I had to find a way for him to survive that. And so I had to, I had to rewrite that and then insert them into the rest of the novel moving forward. But that, since then, no.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
I have a question, follow-up. What did you think about having to change that?
I didn't
Did
like
it bother you?
Yeah, because I wanted it to be serious. I wanted it to, but they wanted something lighter.
But in retrospect, no.
Good question.
How do you feel about it now?
I still would have liked it to have been what I envisioned.
And Kelly and I wouldn't be your friend.
There would have been other characters that you would have liked.
No, not to
They would have
anybody.
been replaced by just
We
like.
bonded over what you did in Savage. I mean, come on.
We did.
Maybe you don't know.
See, I have a funny story for you about that, because when I co-wrote Ragnarok and Omega with Jeremy, I said I wanted to kill one of the characters. And he said, no, you can't
Yeah,
kill
it
anybody.
was too late by then.
Can't do it. And then after, when Sean Ellis came in and he was co-writing with him, he's like, I want to pretend to kill one of the characters. He's like, okay, yeah, cool.
Pretend. Pretend.
That's a great idea, Sean.
Hard feelings came?
So
Yeah.
if you get both
Still
the
running.
Audible version and the book version, there's about 12,000 word difference in between both of them.
In your book?
In my book, because one of them I got to have more control over, and the other one I didn't.
Which
In which
version
direction?
got paid?
I prefer the paper version. It's less short, there's less world building.
And do you have a date when that will be out?
October 6th.
Okay.
It's a lot of words.
Yeah, it is, but I went from a submission of around 110,000 to 130,000.
Too many words.
And so, you know, it was after everything had been done, like the book was finished, and they said, hey, this isn't long enough, we want more. The reader's gonna want more. And this was my first editor, and my second editor went, well, we could have just split this into 2 books. And I was like, well, that would have been good information. A while ago, a long time ago. But it was, I just went ahead and I just cut out a whole bunch of stuff that was not necessary to the story. But publishers and narrators and between Podium and Volking, they couldn't agree on what they wanted. And so I had to give from basically one to one and the other to the other. And it wasn't like they're like, oh my gosh, we have a deadline in like 2 days. And so I'm sitting in bed next to my wife and she's like, okay, who's gonna put the children to bed? And I'm like, I'm gonna do it. It's like 10 o'clock, our children are like swinging from the, and I'm like, I'm sorry, honey, as soon as
Like a very new and
I get this last chapter.
When the royalty checks start coming in, you'll have more power in that situation. Maybe.
I hope so. I hope so. I didn't write to make money. I wrote to show that that I can do it. when I was in high school, my AP English teacher, she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're such a great writer." Then I got to college and I took a creative writing course. And in that creative writing course, at the end of the year, we got to write our own fan fiction, our own sequel to something. And so I wrote a sequel to The Matrix. And I was like,
wow.
and so it was, to me, it was great. And I got like a C on it. And she said that it was contrived, predictable, and unoriginal. And so then several years later, the sequel to The Matrix came out, and it was the same premise.
Did she sell it to Hollywood?
Right, yeah, right. But you know, the great thing is that, you know, that movie, sequel to The Matrix, didn't do that great. And so I was like, well, maybe that's it. And so then Reddit came along, and I was a part of this like little writing subset, and we were submitting short stories. Some guy who had submitted something, who had at the time, I don't know if you guys have how long you guys have been reading, but the guy who wrote Martian, he had just posted it on there. Like, he didn't sell it or anything. He just was like, "Hey, here's a great short story. What do you guys think?" And he's like, "This is pretty creative. You're pretty good at this." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks." But I had always been told that, you know, my writing, I had been pushed back from writing. And then I was like, I'm going to give this another try. And so then I was like, "So, Jeremy, Mr. Robinson," I sent this like long, right? And then I see red. And then like 3 days pass, and I was like, "Oh, man." And then I get a message notification. It's like, "This sounds like a pretty cool idea. You should go with it." And it just filled me, and I was just like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it." And it was like really somebody who is this. He won't call himself famous, maybe he will, but someone as
Accomplished.
Thank you. To engage with people who have questions. It doesn't just perpetuate the art, it perpetuates us.
So will you remind us when your book is released?
October
6th.
What, will you remind us?
Oh, yeah.
October 6th?
Okay, just a question for everyone.
Yeah.
Who has given you the best advice, and who has given you the worst advice?
What was the advice?
Can it be Kane for both of them for me?
And you need to expand on that answer.
I guess all kidding aside, right? Kane edited the first book I wrote ever. The first book I ever finished writing in high school, similar to what you're talking about. I wrote a lot of stuff because I just enjoyed writing, but I would never finish anything. I would never finish spell checking what I wrote in high school before I moved on to something else. So when I finally decided to take myself seriously enough to actually accomplish, put together a book, step one was writing it. Step two was actually finishing it. So spell checking, I'd never achieved spell checking. Well, I finally did that, right? And then I started to talk to Kane, and Kane did the edit on the book. And some of the things that he came back with very gently were sort of impacted the way that I told the story. There's a bunch of different examples, but that was my first book, and one of the things that I did, because I didn't want to just complete something, right? I wanted to tell a story that I could be proud of. I went and read a couple of hundred other books in the genre to see what I liked about, you know, how people wrote it, how they expressed it, what they did right, what they did wrong. And since then, I've literally read and listened to hundreds of books, and my takeaway, I always take away something from everything I read. Sometimes it's something that I like and I want to try out, or something that might change my perspective. A lot of times it's like, holy crap, I should never do that. So I mean, even good books and good authors, right? There's things that I can look at it and I can say, this is not something I would want to do, or I need to make sure I avoid doing these things, because there are certain things that just word use, repetitive things, and the way that you come up with some things. Like Dan did the narration on my first 4 books, and I proofed those things. Kane edited. I mean, we put a lot of time and effort into those things, and then I heard Dan narrate it. I'm like, son of a bitch, I used that word way too many times. And I read that thing so many times. Other people did it, right? We all put a lot of time into it. And then I hear it spoken out loud, and all of a sudden a different part of my brain clicked in. So a big thing for me was looking at that, and I thought, you know what? I'm using all these tools like Grammarly to check for like grammatical stuff that my brain just doesn't see. And now, because of what I learned from Dan's narration of my books, is I actually got Speechify to like read the manuscript back to me. And every chapter I go through, and every time I think I'm done with that chapter, I'll run it through Speechify, which is my digital Dan. And I'll be like, how did I miss that on 12 different times through this? And I'll make changes to it, and then I'll run through it one more time in Speechify, and now all of a sudden I feel better, like it's ready to go.
I would think though, the danger, overthinking can really affect the creative process though, too, can it? At least for me it would.
I have a friend that's part of a local writing group I recently joined, and he's been working on this, like when I met the guy, he's like, I'm an aspiring writer, I've been working on the same book for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hard stop, let's talk about that. And I think that there's probably a lot of things that he had going on in his mind, and my first constructive bit of feedback for him was, at some point, call it done. And I think I've heard you guys both talk about this, right? Book 1 that I can do today is going to pale in comparison with book 10, both from a technical quality. I mean, there's just so much that's going to change about me, my process, my maturity. And it was a brief conversation with this guy. He had rewritten it for different editors based on different, feedback from different groups that he took seriously. But he had written the same book 8 times over a 20-year period. And in one conversation with him, he's like, you know what? I'm going to finish this edit that I'm doing. And he started a new book. And he put that one on the shelf, and he wants to think about that. And he's working on his 3rd book right now, just after the fact that somebody just said, look, you got to stop at some point, because you'll never publish if you don't stop editing.
Yeah. You should just change the names of the other characters to that book he wrote 8 times and have 8 books. Well, on this subject, Steve and I were just talking last night about this. I always like to tell the story because I read this and it affected me, because I thought, right, that's the mentality I have to do. I have to stop worrying about nitpicking stuff as I'm getting it out of me and onto the page. There's another writer that maybe some of the folks here have heard of, some unknown guy named Dan Brown, who after he wrote the Da Vinci Code, after its phenomenal success, after all of his previous books hit the bestseller list as well, to ride along with the Da Vinci Code, the next book after that, he took an exceptionally long amount of time to write because he just felt like he couldn't get it the way he wanted it. And he had bought a new refrigerator and had the cardboard box that the refrigerator came in and filled it with manuscript pages for that next book before he ever finished writing that next book. But eventually, he got the next book done. And I think he's had 2 or 3 more now after that.
George R.R. Martin, so we don't know.
Exactly. You can't fiddle with it forever. When I was in high school, I had a guy who he was a friend of mine, an artist, and he would just doodle. And he would make these amazing illustrations. He was one of the most talented artists I've ever known, but he didn't know when to stop. So I saw him from a blank piece of paper when we were just hanging out, the kind of guy that would just always be drawing, And he drew this amazing drawing, but he kept noodling with it and kept noodling with it until eventually it was just black ink on the page. He had covered every little part of the image because he was messing with it and tweaking with it until there was nothing left.
Well, and with Dan Brown, it seems like there's that fine line between keeping everything factual and, and then the creative piece, and I think that he's.
Plus, every one of his books has the same exact formula. The bad
Pretty
guy's
much,
the same
yeah.
bad guy.
At some point,
the
you
good
have
guy's
to
the same
say, say,
good guy.
that's enough. It's
I read
good
when I
enough.
read the second book, I'm like, this is different. It's like, literally, you took the thing and you just number swapped who was who, and it was
So
I stopped reading them after that.
real quick before we jump to Spider, you're famous for saying, right, you write something and boom, you're off to the next thing. In my mind, I always see this little cartoon of Jeremy finishing a book, throwing it over his shoulder to Kane and going on to the next book without getting up to go to the bathroom.
That's the adult. I get up every 2 hours to go to the bathroom.
And he does go back. When he finishes a book, he'll take some time and go through it and tweak things and make it how he wants it before he sends it off to me.
Yeah.
But then he's already
There's
got
never
the
a
next one.
reread or rewrite.
No.
Never
No,
tried different
he
versions.
doesn't do multiple drafts. He just does the first draft and then goes back through and makes sure that things were not mess up.
You don't like, oh,
Yeah, just
you don't like to revisit things, do you, because you get bored? Is that something that?
Yeah, I mean, the only time I do like to revisit is when people post the random quotes and I think it's funny and then find out it's me. That's really it. Yeah, because when I finish a book, we have a pretty tight production schedule, and I'm also writing things that people don't see, like screenplays. So now that I just finished Parallax on Friday before coming here, and when I get back, I'll be working on a screenplay and a short story. Don't want to forget that.
Yeah. Sure, is that the key word?
And then the next novel. So it's time-wise, it's like I need to just cut that off. I can't keep thinking about it, or I'm going to be distracted when I write this new thing that I need to pay attention to.
Kane, question, kind of on the business side of things. I mean, I think about the fact that the reason I'm here today is I think I saw a random Facebook ad for the dark. And so the community building that you're able to do is what drew me in as a marketing log. Because what I was seeing is that the independent publishers, of course, and having had my own publisher and realizing how much support you get, which is none, and how much money they take, which is all of it. Just realizing that if you're going to make a living at this and building the community is so incredibly important. Can you share some of your insights as to how you got started with this idea of building the community? And even things like RobinsonFest are really a manifestation of just bringing people into the world.
So for me, I have a great answer to your question, because I just started a small group called Argo, which is just like the tribe. And the answer is I started it accidentally. I didn't mean to start it. It was meant to be a small private group with just 30 to 50 people who could be advanced readers for some of my books. And I was just going to ask a few people to join. But before I had finished setting it up, Facebook started announcing it to everyone that I've ever met on Facebook. I hadn't even put graphics in there yet, like no banner image yet. So now I have a group that's an open group of anybody who's been invited, they're welcome to join it if they want to stay, cool. And if they're bored, they will obviously flee, like my family members. But the thing like RobinsonFest, those kinds of things all happen organically. With Tribe, we decided to set that up after having had a smaller secret group called ARG that was about 100 people for a long time. And we just announced to readers that we had formed Tribe and left it open for them, and then put things in the back of his book saying, hey, we have this Facebook group, come join it. And so the growth in a Tribe, which is now close to 6,000 people, has been very organic. We get about 10 or 20 new people that join a week. So a lot of what we've done to do that sort of thing has just been word of mouth or organic. Just being, forthright and saying thank you for reading, and if you can post reviews and come join this group, we're just interacting with people who've reached out to us on Facebook or other forms of social media.
And I'm presuming if you have like 6,000 people in pocket to say, hey, by the way, there's a new book, go out and buy it, that affects the bottom line.
You would think, but
Yeah.
Facebook throttles things like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Their algorithms are tight.
Sometimes I post in Tribe and it will be like 30 people see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have this event going on in Canada, and I just posted an automated post that I wrote last week for the weekly giveaway that we do in Tribe, saying, oh, we're in Canada doing this, so I've written this in advance. And we got responses from people who were Canadian fans in Tribe who said, oh, you're in Canada? I didn't know you were going to be in Canada. And for those of you who are here, obviously, we've been talking about RobinsonFest for about 9 months, right?
Well,
But
and
Facebook
years.
throttles that,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. 10
Day
years.
after
So
the
not
last
everyone
one.
sees it,
Yeah.
even though we have 6,000 people, they don't all see what's in there. And if you change your Facebook settings so that you're not seeing all the posts from the group, and you only see them when you go to the group, then that's dependent upon whenever you feel like going. So, yeah,
You don't see all
it helps sales certainly, but maybe not to the tune of
It's not as
6,000.
massive, it's not an absolute
Not as much as it should.
Just like and comment.
Yes.
The more people who actually do that, I hate saying stuff like that.
But it
feels like
Yeah.
begging.
No, but it's real.
Yeah,
It's true.
the more people, so the way it works is that Facebook will show it to like 10 of you. And if all of you ignore it, then they might show it to another 10, and then they'll just stop showing it. But if there's a response from those first 10 people, then it will expand it to like 20 people. And if they respond, then it will do 50. And it just goes like that. And so if there's no reaction from the first people to chose, they just kill it.
Engagements, or even a like is enough to start to
Yes.
spawn, right?
So what I do is if I see him post something, as soon as one of you posts a like or a comment, I might join in and also click like. So if you pay attention to those likes, the early ones, I'm usually the second one, because I'm trying to drive that. Because once you get a critical mass of them, then Facebook's like, oh, everybody in Tribe should see this.
Yeah.
And they push the post out.
That's good to know. All right, so we should just basically like anything we see.
Yeah.
Like and comment.
From
You
Yes.
also have to visit the group in order to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it just all depends on if it's about whether or not Jeremy has asked for money from people.
Yeah, but in all fairness, if we don't feed the beast, he has to go get a job at.
Yeah, he's good.
He doesn't lose this, so
But-
yeah, it's
but
very
it-
selfish of us.
But it is frustrating, right? Because everybody that's in the group is in the group for a reason, and it's actually a very inspiring community. But the fact is, Facebook's torpedoing that, and you shouldn't have to. Normal people shouldn't have to understand the what's going on behind the scenes to just know when a new post is out there.
Well, and one of the reasons we started the group of Tribe is that he has an author fan page, and I have an author fan page. I'm sure you guys do too. And Facebook throttles the posts that you put on your fan page because they want you to boost the post and pay money for it to get out to more
What?
people.
Yeah.
Right?
So more
But with
pay to play is
groups,
basically the
they
issue.
don't do that as much.
Right.
Have you
So
ever
we
paid to
started
play?
doing it for that reason.
Have you ever paid to play?
Yes.
That's what got you.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how
I'm
you
glad
saw
to hear.
that.
I'm glad to hear that it worked on somebody.
Yeah. That's how you saw that ad.
Do you remember if it was a really short one? Like it's just
I
a
don't,
short
you know, I
clip of
think what happened is something popped up in my brain, went, that sounds cool, let me check it out. You know, that was, I think what you want is to find somebody who's gonna resonate. It resonated for me. And then, of course, the proof is in the reading.
Right.
Anyone else here read The Dark and enjoy the hell out of it? You know? Yeah, exactly. So it was an amazing story. It was funny, and it was gross as hell, but it was funny. But it was also enough to make you go, wow, I really enjoyed that, let's go get some more.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly
I'm
what
sorry, sweetie.
So I have a question. What's the oddest thing you've ever had to Google?
What is the name?
I'm not gonna say what it was. I don't want anyone Googling it.
The phrase did not end up in the story.
It did not. I Googled it and went, hell no. I'll tell you off camera.
Anybody who wants to know what Jeremy has to look at to think hell no?
That's some serious shit.
I have a question about fan art. Do you get a lot of fan art, and how much of it do you share? Because it doesn't seem to be a ton that I see, and that might be part of the throttling.
Most of the fan art is for Nemesis. And that usually spikes when there's a new Nemesis book. So we've got one piece for Infinite, or maybe a couple for Infinite.
Well, there was a handful for Sentinel there for a while.
Yeah.
That came out. You know, everybody wanted Helga. Where's Hell? You know.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fan art with AI art.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of that wasn't like actual art. But I love seeing what people think the characters look like. But yeah, actual fan art is mostly Nemesis.
After-
Summer Test Team.
After the first Project Nemesis book, for the next 4 books in that series, we included a fan art section in the printed ebooks for whatever we had at that point. Yeah, so there was quite a bit of fan art for the series.
Because I love that. That's something I look for online when I enjoy a book. I go quick and look and see what
I'll
kind
be
of.
posting those in Tribe also. I do that sort of thing on Tuesdays where I put up random pieces of artwork that have been in the books or whatever. I'll do the fan art also. Yeah.
There is a video for the Nemesis fan art where it's just all the pictures kind of going through the music. These boots were made for walking, I think, as the music.
You've mentioned Nemesis. What's any update on the show?
So right now, it is in like the final stage where they're working on the pilot episode. And basically the way it works is that they need to write the pilot episode, get that approved, then write the second episode and the series Bible. And once all of that is approved, it gets greenlit for production. So right now, I'm just waiting to hear whether it's going to be greenlit or not. So we will find out by November 11th. Wow. One way or the other, and that's horrifying. After like an 11-year wait.
Could you explain what the Bible is in reference to this?
Yeah, it's not the Holy Bible. It's basically all the character details and locations and stuff like that that will be in the show.
Is that something that you have to, is that something you write, or is that something that?
They'll do it. Yeah.
So when you're a rich, famous Hollywood mogul, will you remember the little people who got you there?
We'll still be doing this.
Okay.
In San Diego.
There'll just be hundreds of you.
That's actually a good
We'll be
jumping
at
off.
Comic-Con.
That's a good jumping off point. So this is the 10-year anniversary of RobinsonFest. Right?
Mm.
Can you talk a little bit? There's a lot of new faces here. Can you talk a little bit about how it started? Where
It started because of peer pressure.
As all good things do.
There were a number. I think it was just in ARG at the time.
Yes.
And there were a number of people who were asking for it, and I was kind of like, well, we can do it, but it has to be called like. I didn't want it to be called RobinsonFest because it's just like, even though all the attention is on me at this, I don't want it. So I think the first time was like the event that shall not be called RobinsonFest, and then after that it was just RobinsonFest. I gave in. So yeah, it was peer pressure. Good job, everyone.
You're welcome.
We'd be weak and dead to it.
But this is really outside of your normal comfort zone.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
right, for this
Sure.
to make it 10 years, that says a lot about the experience. Like, it's
Yeah.
an experience for everybody here, but it's a.
Yeah, over the years I've come to feel kind of like proud of it. Last year, this is kind of funny. Last year, we were doing the pirate ship. It was a pirate ship cruise on like a pirate ship in St. Augustine. And so I was on the third deck looking down, and everyone was laughing and having a good time, and I just felt like really good. I was like, I'm proud of this. This is really awesome. And at the same time thinking, I'm gonna let myself be a little autistic right now and not be forcing anything on my face. I looked somber as I was feeling happy and proud. And Heather Beth came up to me and goes, "Are you okay?"
I've never been so happy.
Well, Kate and I were talking about this the other night, just talking about the fact that, well, you were kind of the core of this. The real celebration is each other.
Yeah.
You know, this is why we show up, is to hang out with other nerds. And nerds alike. Yeah, it's true.
Hello, it's thousands of kilometers every year.
Yeah. Some people are a little bit.
We're in Canada, learn it.
It has to do with killing, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy, are there any books, are there any characters in your books who mask really well?
I think Henry.
Yes.
Henry's probably the best.
Yeah.
Masks, explain.
Hides his true self and what he's feeling.
Masking is a key identification of autism. People that go into social situations that are pretty normal for what it seems to be everybody else there, but at the end of it, they feel completely exhausted. They may have not engaged with anybody, they may not have talked with anybody, they may not have done anything or even been a center of attention, but that still social engagement caused an amount of exertion that they didn't know that they were doing in order just to perceive themselves or be seen as normal.
And also works for chronic pain people.
It
call
does.
them
We
spoons.
mask and pretend that we're well for a few days.
Yeah.
We're not.
And introverts.
You start with a few
Yeah.
spoons at the beginning of the day, and as you give them away, you gotta wait until they're refilled the next time.
Exactly.
I'm dying on the inside right now.
You're masking very well.
Thank you.
Courtney?
Yeah, in light of your recent diagnosis, did you find that writing the autistic main character of Colton in Artifacts, did that make it easier for you or more difficult?
Writing Colton basically was me processing the diagnosis because it was, I think I had just started writing it and he wasn't autistic. And that's why it kind of like slow burns into the reveal. Because after the diagnosis, it just was on my mind all the time. So, I was just like, you know what? This guy might be more interesting if he's also dealing with this stuff. But it helped a lot to write a character that was very similar to me in that way.
I think that's why you hit it out of the ballpark. I think that's why you hit it out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so well written is because there's a personal touch to it.
Right.
I said, I messaged you afterwards, you didn't have the afterword in the proofers. So
Right,
you didn't know, so I didn't know you had been diagnosed.
Yeah.
And I sent you because I started reading, and when you read about autism, but you live in an autism way or family, you know what it is, and when you see somebody trying to write it without experiencing it, it sucks, you know.
Yeah.
We all want our ASD kids to be super smart and have all these special skills. Like, we want an accountant, you know, as our ASD kid growing up and being successful, and the nonverbal kid with the computer. You know, no, that's not real at all. But you took your sci-fi and crazy stuff, but you made the autism real and approachable, even though you added that special SPD over-the-top sensory issue. You wrote it real, and I wrote you afterwards, and I said the whole time I was reading, and I told you that, and I said, you did not.
That review is not on Amazon.
An observation about Colton. If you did not write him as autistic, I don't think people would have accepted the story and how he was able to do and process things if that was not part of who he is. Because then anybody that's been around anybody that's different would say, wait a second, how is he able to do this or that or whatever? So, but if you know someone that's autistic or Asperger's syndrome or whatever, you know, you were like, oh,
It's a superpower.
in a way, yeah. They see things differently.
Well, that's why we call it neurodivergent. It's just we're just recognizing it now, as opposed to calling everyone retarded and putting them in a special classroom.
And short
We're
buses,
learning.
don't forget about the buses.
Yeah. My kids never got on a bus.
So we had a couple of other questions that were on the
Streaming
group Facebook page. One for Dan. What made you want to become an audiobook narrator? And what was your first gig?
Well, I always liked audiobooks as a kid, and I listened to them all the time. And once I started teaching, I was just narrating in front of a live audience every few days, you know, whether it be, you know, reading a short story to them, or one of my first really good compliments was from an administrator who did an observation while I was reading the Odyssey. And so I was just being my goofy self and reading it, and he's like, I really like your performance. You know, you could have a career doing that stuff on audio. Like, that'd be kind of cool. That would be nice. And that same year, I actually had a student whose mother told me the compliment that her son said that he makes the literature come alive.
Oh.
And from that point, I was like, all right, got that. And all right, maybe I have a knack for this to some extent. And, you know, I told Katie about it for a long time. You know, it'd be really cool. I think one day. And to get back to Charlie, the best advice I got was from her going, stop talking about it and do it. Here, I signed you up for a class. And I said,
So how did you get into it? Is there somebody to call or?
well, I took this class called Investigate Voiceover, and it was in New York City at a studio. And, you know, there was a whole bunch of people. We all did a few different things and ran commercial ads and such. And they even recorded us, gave us a little feedback. And from there, they said, you know what, yeah, you have some talent for this, so you should pursue this. And, you know, of course, could that just be a money grab? But, you know, in the years going through with the narrating in the classroom, some of other best compliments I've received is tears. For 20 years, I read Of Mice and Men. And if you haven't read that yet, tough on the spoiler. Right? The lady dies. And George is really hurting as he has to euthanize his best friend. And when I read that, reading in 5 periods, first period I'm always in tears. Not streaming down, but my eyes water every single time in the first class. But when the students tear up as well, and Mr. and then go, you should be an actor. Lines. So between that all and her getting me into the voiceover, I said, that class, I said, all right, you know what, time to start doing this. And it came to RobinsonFest, and Mike, I was talking about getting into it, and Mike said, well, you should do it. and the following of RobinsonFest, I was talking to Xander/Steve, and he said, I've been looking for a narrator. And it was a great union.
Well, Mr. Robinson was really typical. Fuck the word, I can't even say. But when R.C. Bray, remember when he got his diagnosis and everybody on Facebook, oh bitch, and remember, and you basically just said, hey, like freaking get over it, people, because he may never be able to do it again, and so so I just quickly adjusted and started listening to other narrators because of that, and then whether it be Dan or Jeffrey or others, and I still love RC, but it's not like a seller for me anymore.
Right.
So.
Does it pay well? Silly question, but.
Let me answer that real fast. The answer generally is no. So what I want to share is a resource for anybody who's interested. So I've done 4 Audible books in the last 2 years. There is a
Done in what way?
narrated.
Ah.
I didn't know you were a narrator.
I am.
You can't hear it?
It's not my day job. But there's a source called Audiobook Scout. I think it costs me $7 a month. And what it is, it's basically listings of authors looking for someone to narrate their books. So the simple reality is, if you're willing to do things, there are a couple different models. One, you can do it kind of on a spec where you get a share of the royalty, or they will pay you not enough money up front to do the work. The bottom line is that if you are thinking of getting into narration and you want to experience it, there are authors who need your voice because you're better than they are, perhaps. You may not make any money, but you're going to get the experience, and you'll get your Audible mark.
What was the name of that?
It's called Audible Scout, Audiobook Scout. It's probably audiobookscout.com.
And on acx.com, they have this whole setup called Narrator's Roadmap. And it gives you a whole idea of what kind of steps to take if you want to get into it, and how to find practices and coaching. And it's actually a fantastic resource. And before you ask further, I will say that that every voice has a purpose.
Even if it's
every voice. Yes, even if it's erotic. Listen, Gilbert Godfrey.
He made a living with his
There's a niche for his voice. So, and if you want to see something really funny about Gilbert Godfrey, look up YouTube about him narrating 50 Shades of Grey.
I have a perfect segue on that. Heather Beth has asked to hear your erotica voice.
No.
Permanent wedgie in, then you're supposed to hire.
80 degrees in the booth.
Yeah.
So is there any of your books, guys, that would be appropriate for a book club of a bunch of women, not anything like I am?
Define that.
You need to see more.
Well,
You distracted me with
Women who
women.
like science fiction and fantasy?
They wouldn't, if there's sex in it, don't go. If there's, murder, killing, guts.
No.
No, you should totally bring Nemesis just for fun.
I would.
I did that.
Torment.
I kind of already knew the answer to that question, so, but, I mean, the first book they had us read was Tom Lake, which was actually a really good book, like, and Meryl Streep was in there reading that one. But, okay. Well, if you think of anything, let me know.
If you're looking for a book that doesn't have murder or sex, don't read the Bible.
I'm the only one that openly admitted to that. But I think they would if it's just not, dogs doing dogs.
Probably Didymus.
Didymus?
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be a good
Yeah.
one.
And Didymus is pretty, there's not a lot of zombies in there either.
Right.
Last one is like slowly
Limited
guys.
zombies.
Just one.
That's probably a good idea. That might be safe.
Yeah, the funny thing is, and Charlie just mentioned, is that my kind of like golden rule for what I will and will not write about has always been, it's in the Bible, it's fair game. So if people get upset about the content of my book, especially like conservative Christians,
Right.
it's in the Bible, man.
You're right.
And I haven't even touched some of the stuff in the
You
Bible.
haven't done any First Testament
Yeah,
stuff.
the Bible could get pretty crazy.
I do get a kick out of when people say, who's your favorite character? And everybody's just chiming in. I like this guy, I like Dark Horse, I like King. I'm like, everyone is forgetting that Jesus Christ was a character.
The anomaly. The anomaly.
These are the anomaly.
I thought that was really cool.
So people rethink who your favorite character is.
Jeremy, is your next novel going to include Leviticus at all? Just curious.
Never know.
Numbers.
Well, there we go. Brian Martin has just said she always recommends The Distance to her non-sci-fi fans or women who haven't read Jeremy. That's the book he wrote with his
The
wife.
Distance was written with my wife.
Right.
So there were two characters, one was male, one was female. I wrote the male part and she wrote the female part. So it really rings true to.
What was The Distance about? I forgot. I've read all these books. They've been so long, I forgot. King,
Well,
what was it about?
I don't want to spoil.
Apple
Yeah.
made it.
Just the short
It
stuff.
does.
Find August. Find August. Okay.
I want to say something real quick. You said the crying part is, what makes it, when somebody has that true emotion. Happened to me on Broadway. We were backstage during, we had seen the play, the Elton John play, Aida, Disney play, and bawled my eyes out in it and stepped out. We were waiting at the stage door, everything, people were coming out. The main lady came out that played her and I burst into tears and I'm apologizing at the same time that I'm crying. I'm so sorry, but it was so good. And she looked at me and she goes, honey, this is why we do this.
Yeah, it's the paycheck.
That reaction right there, and it gave me the biggest hug, and that's something that I've always thought about. And you have hit the tears, I don't know how many times, but one fairly recent book, it took a while to calm down. So, good job.
I feel like I know when I've written a good book if I'm crying while I write it. And that happens. And it was funny because my goal with Good Boys was to write a ridiculously funny book and make people cry.
Yep.
And I think that worked.
Hey, good goal. You did it.
Laughing and crying at the same time.
Can you tell us anything more about Parallax? We've seen the cover of it, but that's almost it. We have no idea. And what else are you working on for the future?
Yeah, I don't even have an elevator pitch for Parallax. I'm not sure why, there's just something about the story.
Well, what about 37 then? So that's the next book coming out.
37 is a very easy elevator pitch. It's basically a group of people at a small campground in Maine are abducted and
Oh, I
one
love
of
it
them
already.
is a serial killer.
Abducted.
37 minutes?
Yes.
Abducted by aliens. What?
Is that what they said? 37 minutes? Is that what
It's
it's
called
called?
37.
30, 30, and then 7 spelled out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll be out, hopefully right at the end of the year, December 30th or 31st.
And I have no idea what novel I'm writing next. I know I'm working on a screenplay, and then there'll be a novel. And I have a list of 6 or 7 possibilities. I haven't chosen yet.
What is Nectar that's on your website?
It's a comic book.
It's a comic
So
book.
good question. over the last 2 or 3 years, we've been working on 5 different comic books that will be coming out. Starting to come out in 2026. And the first one is Nectar, and it's a Victorian horror novel, not novel, horror story that involves blood-sucking vampires, or not vampires, butterflies. So the nectar in the story, the nectar in the story is blood.
You have any comic book artists?
Yep, it's all done.
Oh, it's all done.
Yep.
So,
Which one was
glad to see that.
Huh?
Which book was the most fun to read?
Probably Good Boys.
Not Space Force?
That one, that's a close second. It's just that Space Force didn't have dogs.
Or Sean.
Dogs are better.
Yeah.
Was there an inspiration behind The Hunger?
I don't know.
Waiting for dinner.
Yeah, I think it was probably an article. I think I was thinking about junk DNA.
Right.
And then trying to come up with a way to unlock it. Basically, that was it. Yeah.
So I listened to From Above last week, which is 44 minutes, which I enjoyed. But do you have a short story collection? Are you working toward kind of putting these all into one thing?
It's called. The first one is called Insomnia, and that includes From Above.
Okay,
and then like 8 others. And we've been talking about putting out a second, but we don't have quite enough short stories to put in it yet.
How often do you get a short story? Just kind of a random, like it's Monday, I'm going to write something different today?
The only time I write short stories now is when someone asks me to take part in an anthology.
Got it.
I'm not a huge fan of writing short stories. I prefer the long form. So yeah, only when people ask me to, really.
Didn't Dan also narrate Insomnia for you?
Yep, Dan was narrator for that one.
You will not fall asleep during that.
So you're probably maybe a little hesitant to talk about it, but you talked about how Audible does the free book thing to the, and then, it punishes the actual authors. And I mentioned it a couple times to other people here, and everyone was shocked and surprised. And I think it's something you should tell people because, I like to, it's good to promote unknown authors, but it shouldn't be at the expense of someone else.
Right.
I think Audible ought to, make it part of the membership. Like, hey, if you want to pay a little extra to get some unknown authors, thrown your way, that would be great. But, having, like I said, explain how that works. I think people would be surprised.
Let me preface Audible. I love you. I wouldn't have a career without them. The new model of royalties works in a way that is kind of detrimental to authors, well, some authors, where normally when you buy an audiobook for 1 credit, that 1 credit goes to the author and the narrator. Now, if you buy a book and then you are in the Plus program and you go and listen to some free books, let's say 3 free books, that credit is then divided 4 ways. So I haven't seen the effect of it on the books that we have published, but the books that I have with Podium, the revenue dropped by 2/3, which is significant when audiobooks is 80% of our income.
So help me with that again, because I
Lost
my
2/3 of income.
If you're struggling with it, everybody's struggling with it. It's
So I pay like the $59.99, for whatever. But I don't ever do free books.
Do you
Right.
listen to the free, like in the Plus catalog? Then it doesn't impact you.
Right. If you don't listen to free books in the Plus catalog, nothing changes.
Okay.
But if the Plus catalog or the authors not in the Plus catalog are basically subsidizing it. And I think I haven't looked into this too much because it just was announced while we've been here, is that they have announced, I think in response to this, announced that there's a program now, like an affiliate link. So if you guys bought through that link, then we get like an extra $1. It doesn't make up for the 2/3.
Right.
But it's at least a little something extra. But then it still requires people to find that specific link, which is rare.
Because I had not realized you did comics, I was just saying, but breakneckcomics.com.
Yes, if you go to breakneckcomics.com, you will see the comics. I haven't updated the art on those, but it all looks really good.
So if we check that website, we'll see when they come out.
And we'll also
Yeah.
get out
And we
to
can
try.
purchase it through there? And you
No,
have it on
the
trial?
buy links won't be on that website because I don't want to have to deal with that. But so our end of it is Breakneck Comics, because Breakneck Media is how we've been publishing books the whole time. So Breakneck Comics is our end of things, and we have a deal with Vault Comics, who is a pretty big indie comic. They just had a big successful release with Post Malone. It's funny, but it was really big. So we're teaming up with them. We're doing like the creative side, and they're doing the production side, which is good because I don't want to do that, and the sales and distribution and all that. So I think we're going to get like a great release. We just found out while we were here that we originally were going to release them straight as graphic novels, but now we're actually going to release issues, 4 issues for each one, and then a graphic novel. So that'll be really cool.
Is the change in the Audible money distribution, is this something that is currently beta testing, proposed, or is it
I think
in
it's
effect
beta
right
tested.
now?
It's effective right now. So I knew there was going to be some kind of change, but I wasn't worried about it because I didn't understand it at the time. And I just happened to be looking through some royalty reports from the last few months, or from earlier in the year, January, February, March. And so it kicked in February. And I thought sales were just lower in those months. So I didn't even think to look at the amount per book that was being paid. I just assumed it was a bad month in February and then March. So I was like, okay, there are 2 bad months in a row. But then I looked at the numbers and glanced at the royalty amount, so the sales and the royalty amount, and I noticed that they were pretty close to identical, and I was like, that's a lot less than I should be getting, like $1 a book. Nemesis worked out to 65 cents a book.
Jesus.
So that's, it's not enough.
I'm sorry, so you get 65 cents a book.
On Nemesis. And that'll go up and down depending on how many people are using the Plus program.
How many copies do you normally sell right in that way?
Oh, it's all over the place, depends on the book.
So you can be in the Plus program, but as long as you don't read any of the free books, it's not going to affect it.
But only
Correct.
when you use a credit, right?
Well, the way that you described it to me, and I don't mean to jump in, but if you buy a book in April and you don't download any of the free books, he gets his normal
Right.
thing.
It's monthly.
If you buy a book in April and then you download a free
Right.
book, then it gets cut in half.
Right.
But the converse to that is, you buy a book in April, download it, and then wait till May, download 10 free books, nothing affects
Right.
any of the authors, not just Jeremy,
Right.
obviously. So if you're gonna do the free ones, just don't buy any books during that time.
Every R month, you can get your free book.
Every R Damn food.
What is the best way to support authors then, in terms of how we access our text? Is it print? Is it ebooks? Is it audiobooks? Like, what is the best? Because there's so many
Best
ways
royalty.
to access. Yes. Yeah.
It will probably be changing a lot, and we're planning on trying to figure out what to do about it. We don't have any solutions yet. The format that makes the highest royalty at the moment is ebook, I think, pretty sure. Audio used to be where I pushed everyone, but now it's so low that we're gonna have to figure out something else to focus on.
So if someone buys the book on Kindle, you get like 100% or whatever the.
70% is the royalty on it.
Okay, so 70% of that. But I do Kindle Unlimited, but sometimes I do buy the book. Like, it's something like, hey, I do reread books. I'm sure everyone here rereads certain books. So, but what happens if I read your book in Kindle Unlimited and then So I read, then I read King's book, and then I read Steve's book.
They're separate programs.
Yeah.
So
No,
you
Kindle
could buy
Unlimited.
my book and read it, and if you wanted to read it again, you could read it through Kindle Unlimited and then get paid twice.
No, I meant, but if I just read your three books all through Kindle Unlimited.
Right.
No, you only get paid once.
Yeah, you're mixing up the Kindle Unlimited program and the Audible Plus program. So it's only the Audible Plus program that's the problem, where they're splitting royalties amongst other authors. With Kindle Unlimited, all the money goes to the author. Yeah.
Well,
So the
let
way
me
they handle
explain
that is, you're using a.
No, I
you
wasn't
get-
confusing the two. I just wanted to, more for everyone else. If you're reading all your books in Kindle Unlimited.
Yes.
I'm not buying the books. I'm reading Kindle Unlimited. So I read 3 books this month, Jeremy's, Kane's, and Xander's. So how does that work out? If I read to the end of every book. I get to 100% before I return it back.
It's like 0.013 cents per page. That in the end, it's depending on book length, like 3 to 350 that the author would make. It's less than
Xander's going to be rich when I finish this book.
The important thing is if you're using Kindle Unlimited, read the whole book.
Yes.
All the way to the end.
Always take it to 100%.
Because they pay you by the page.
Okay.
For Kindle Unlimited.
Your device is tracking, like feeding that information to Amazon's cloud about how far you made it.
Since I'm retired now, I'm okay because I'm paying me to go through and read all the books multiple times a day.
And rereads don't count.
If you go back again, I don't think they pay
Rereads
twice.
don't count.
Rereads don't count.
Rereads don't count.
Credit page? The last page, there's any print on, or just the content of the book? I'm not trying to be stupid.
I think it's if there's like a blank page at the end, they probably count it.
Yeah, so click all the way to the end of the book. You get more money.
If a lot of books have like previews of other books or advertisements for other authors.
Right.
I just fast forward it to get to 100%.
If you don't do it in the speed you would normally read, they won't track it.
Right, because what happened was when they launched the program of Kindle Unlimited, they told the authors, you're only gonna get paid for however much of the book people wrote. The authors, being clever, said, I'll put a link in the beginning and say, there's a free thing at the end of the book. Click this link now, and it'll take you to the end of the book, and then you'll get the free thing. And Amazon got wise to that very quickly. And so you have to actually read through the book, clicking the whole way, all the way through.
But what about those books? Like, okay, so I've read the last word of the actual book. But then there's, hey, other books by Jeremy or Kane.
Yeah, we get paid for each one of those pages at the end of the book.
But if I've already read them, then I'm just going, yep, next. Then I get it to 100%. And I'm like, okay.
Just
I'm done.
slowly.
You're done the book. Slowly?
Yeah, don't click too fast.
Count 5. It's just like a rev limiter, right? That Amazon's trying to look to see how fast you blasted through pages because they don't want people to game the system. So if you do it at a reasonable, like human even if you're a really fast reader, they're going to try to give credit where credit's due, but they want to keep people from just through the book to game the system.
It's like taking the DMV driver safety course. They limit they
Yes.
show you how long, it don't matter if you fast forward or not, you're sitting on that page for whatever.
Like, when I do the audio, so what I tend to do with Jeremy's books is I just walk past my Kindle every now and again to get a page. So that I can be kind of page reader as well. Because
So, but it doesn't work with rereads, Steve.
Apparently it
No,
doesn't work with
okay.
reread.
No.
So if you borrow it again a year later, it will not count if you've already borrowed it.
Like a library book.
Yeah.
But you could buy the Kindle and then reread it on Kindle Unlimited. And
That
would-
actually doesn't work because if it's in your library, you can't pick it up on, because I tried to do that yesterday. It doesn't work.
Oh, well.
Okay, so read Kindle Unlimited and then buy it.
Or have 2 accounts.
No, or have 2 accounts, there you go.
Or just send it
On the
in
same book?
cash to.
On the same book.
Dear Amazon, we do not officially endorse any of these ideas.
We love you, Amazon.
Well, I think the other way that the Kindle All You Can Read program differs from the Audible version is you are subscribing to that program, so you're paying a certain amount per month or per year. They throw that into a big bucket and then they distribute it to amongst people who read per page. Right, so that's the more sane way of doing it compared to what they're doing with Audible.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
They even pay you a little bonus if a lot of people read it. Like, the more people read your Kindle Unlimited, they give you. I've started getting like tiny little bonuses, and I was like, oh, like if people are reading them.
I aspire to getting those bonuses.
Some people get massive bonuses. Yeah.
Well, that's when you get the deluxe mac and cheese on Friday night.
So what a segue off all these detailed questions on this, because we want to know, Audible Plus, so if I add a book to my library, but I never read it, your revenue gets cut. Or do I start to read it, I get 2 pages in, or 10, or 100, and I hate it. So I never read anymore. Does your revenue get cut? Or do I have to read the whole book for your revenue to
If
get
you
cut?
buy the book with a credit, I'm paid. It doesn't matter if you read it or not. The books in the Plus program, which I am not.
So I buy a book with a credit for you, and then I go to the Plus program for another author completely, and I add it to my library, but I haven't started to read it at all. Does your revenue get cut by
I
half?
don't think so, because I think you have to read a certain number of or listen to a certain number of pages in that program before it's triggered.
Because that's what I'm wondering. So
I don't know what that number
I
is.
started and I keep going and I finally go, oh my God, I cannot. And I stop reading it, but it's still in my library. Depending upon whether I hit the red magic number, okay.
Yeah.
This is
And
insane.
they don't tell us what the numbers are.
You have
I
to
don't know
read
what that
it
is. You just have
versus
to guess.
download. I think you can read it without downloading, I can't remember. But you can add it to your library. Because I add them to the library and I look at them because I never heard
But
of
as
them.
long as you add them to your library the following month, it won't affect us at all. After you spend your
think.
credit.
So
Yeah.
never buy
We're
any
still trying
books.
to.
As of this date.
Yeah. we're
Just
still
buy
trying to
books in
understand.
1 month and then, no.
And they roll these things out, but they don't necessarily tell you this
You're
is how
too
it's gonna be.
prolific.
Any
Thank
last
you.
questions?
Final questions? Anyone?
Favorite colors?
Orange, green, purple, orange.
No, blue.
Jeremy, why do you hate purple so much, by the way?
What?
Why do you hate purple so much?
I know. I really do hate purple. It's my least favorite color.
Can you have RobinsonFest in
Was there a
Alaska?
purple duck that attacked you when you were a kid?
I honestly don't know.
That one dream.
Favorite author not in the room?
Favorite author, nothing.
Dan Brown.
Martha Will.
Probably Rollins or Cussler.
I don't know. I mean, my favorite book has always been The Descent by Jeff Long. But it's hard for me to pick like an overall author. And Jeff isn't writing anymore, so I don't know what happened to Jeff.
I'll go Rollins, but a different Rollins, Henry Rollins.
Oh, nice.
So many, but actually, like the author that
Sandra
threw all those. Yeah, the author that actually got me connected through those Amazon recommendations and everything was Steve Alton, and that's how I found Jeremy. And my favorite author has been the Weaver, favorite author in the room.
You know, as weird as it sounds, I might have to go with like Travis Stedford, like
Travis.
Shirtleman.
Yeah,
It's not because it's because he can write a boring ass book and make it interesting. And
That's a skill, right?
Yes. I do hate it. I hate it so much when I read it. I'm like, and then it gets to that one chapter, and it's like, that was so good. And then you have to read 72 more to get to that point.
He actually keeps reading.
It's literal.
I'm throwing books in.
Literal crack, and I mean literal like literature speak. Like it's yeah. Don't do it. It's
You recommended to me, and I was like,
yeah, it is.
I mean, like,
Actually, I think I would have to go with a Stephen King.
Yay.
I would have to go with Stephen King.
No one will probably answer it, but anybody who will never read it.
Stephen King.
Yeah, I haven't gotten more than a few chapters through most books I've picked up in years.
I have the exact opposite problem with Stephen King. I tried a couple of times and I never really got into anything he wrote, and I just won't do it again.
I've never read anything he's done.
Stephen King.
Yeah.
But he's like two
I'd like
different
to-
items
I'd like to
before.
finish
I don't like that, but.
Well,
He's a-
well, and it also depends on like, he has different genres. He has DID.
He's a bastard.
He really does. Like, he's able to write a book completely about monsters, and then like 3 weeks later, Stand By Me.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck? He's the same person.
Right.
And yeah, but just
Yeah,
different
but they didn't
approach.
listen to
His books to me, they always start out with a great story, and then it's like he gets tired of writing it, and then he goes, blah, 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 and just finishes it, and I'm like,
That's
I'm
hard.
disappointed.
I faced that in
I was
every book.
just gonna
Oh,
say.
now he's up in downtown.
It's just,
Hey, Jeremy, you know, I'm always disappointed at the end, it just ends so fast, like I said,
Cemetery.
I feel like he just gets tired and just forces it out.
Jeremy, a while back you asked about lit RPG. Is that something you're still thinking about, or did you just say, I realize it's gonna be that short, creating systems and?
I struggle with the idea because it feels like jumping on a bandwagon rather than following what I'm actually interested in. So it feels more like a money grab.
What is RPG?
Lit RPG.
What is lit
This
RPG?
is the new trend, and this is the new trend.
Role-playing
Basically, if you've ever played a video game, I don't know if anybody in here has ever worked for Konami.
We'll talk about it.
Basically, when we play video games, we're not playing the video game because we're the character. Part of that allure is the discovery of the story as you play it. And so like some games like Metal Gear Solid, I don't know if that game was made by Konami, but I heard that it was. It has this great character named Snake, that's what I heard. And you follow him throughout his life and his military career. And what the literature side of it is like it's just telling the story without you having to pick up a game controller. And it's intriguing, but easily done wrong.
Yeah, you need like game systems, and you can picture you're reading a video game because there's stats, there's how like the physics of how the world works. All this stuff has to be explained, and they do it in ways of like the author, the narrator will literally be like, health 32 out of 32. And then, like they go through that thing that in video games. It sounds really stupid, but like as you get into it and you get into the skills and the systems of them. Okay, I've made games for 20 years. For me, I find it very interesting the world building of the game systems.
See, I'm not a gamer,
Yeah.
but
Drive you
when
nuts.
done right,
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
It's based on Dungeons and Dragons style of statistics and leveling and spellcraft and all that kind of thing.
I tried Alien Colonial Marines, and I love that whole Alien franchise. I never got past level 1. I was like, I'm not a gamer.
Dungeon Crawler Carl.
I love
Dungeon
that
Crawler
series. We were
Carl.
just talking about,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
considered?
Yeah.
Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Are those lit RPG ones for
Tell you all
you?
about it.
Oh, all right.
Those ones that they agree on page 15?
No.
No.
Those are choose your own adventures.
Yeah.
Which I would love to narrate, but they're not really doing it.
Jeremy Robinson, choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
If you did choose your own adventure book, that would be great.
Yeah. So any final questions before we wrap up the stream?
Let's go back to 10 years ago. Some Coke or Pepsi?
10 years ago, Coke or Pepsi? That's our final question.
What's 10 years ago?
The start of RobinsonFest.
Okay, did we have that as an icebreaker, really?
Yes.
Wow, I thought we just did the orange game.
And I think you should remember how amazing the originals
I thought it was vodka or tequila.
Robinson Festers were.
Yes, the original Robinson. Great.
Could I just actually thank the people who sit in a room by themselves way too long typing for doing what they do.
Yeah, we love that. We love hermits.
I'll probably die at my computer.
But it will be the keyboard or will the controller?
I love.
Well, at that point, it'll just be the headset. You just think.
Can you use Word to type, or do you have to physically type?
I have to type it. I am non-verbal, even though I'm talking now. It takes a huge effort for me to do this, so I can't possibly talk
Cause
about
I
that.
got carpal tunnel.
I'm interested in playing with it, but I think I would type faster than speak. So,
So you rest your hands, you exercise, serious question.
I've played with it, and the takeaway for me was a little bit different. It's, the voice of what I write is very different when I type versus when I speak.
Yeah.
And I think it's the way my mind works, I collect my thoughts a lot more cohesively when I actually sit there and type. Like, you've heard me speak today, half of what I said was nonsense, so.
Only half?
Which half?
Well, as an English teacher, I can tell you that we all have 3 different vocabularies, primary vocabularies. We have our spoken vocabulary, which is our smallest, our written vocabulary, which is rather vast, but then our understanding vocabulary. So when we're reading, what we understand when we put, so we will read words that we'll never write ourselves. So our reading vocabulary is our most expansive.
So this all, my answer is this.
Is the approaching helicopter turning from a tiny dot in the distance?
So I have to do that. I'll drive and I'll write a book while I drive, but I just talk it out and then it turns it into a text and then I'll just copy it over and then fix it from there.
You do, not just like on occasion, you do that as part of your process?
It's part of my process is because, cause I will, it can sit here and I just have so much going on in my day that I'm like, okay, I know how I want this to be. I know how I see it. Let me say it how I see it. And then I can retype it more specifically. Like that particular scene, it came from a tiny helicopter in the distance to, the dot that initially appeared over the sunset or over the trees. And as it approached, the swirling rotors started to kick up dust. So I heard myself, like I had to get up there, but I wouldn't say that while I'm driving. Sure. So as far as my story structure is concerned, I'm like, okay, what happens here, what happens there, what happens there.
Kind of a verbal rough draft.
Yeah, exactly.
And you use the old fashioned pen to paper, or do you actually type it first?
Type.
If it's a rough idea, I'll write it down in a notebook, but always typing.
I actually wrote a check the other day and realized I hadn't used handwriting in a really long time.
It's hard. Is that notebook a fields guide from a game?
I forgot how to spell my own name.
Yeah.
And all we have to do now is write in cursive, and anybody younger than 20 will never be able to read it.
It's encrypted, it's terrible.
all right, I think we're gonna call that the end of the Q&A.